entrance projects, which completes that investment in all of our buildings so that we now have a secure entrance process that can work very well at all of our schools. And so some are different in terms of their location and how they function, where the SEM could be isolated versus in the office, but all of our buildings now have functional SEMs. Here's just a couple of shots of SEMs. I believe this one is at Clinton. This one is at Dawes. This one is at Elliott, a very challenging solution in a historical building with narrow hallways. This one's at Huntington, just 4 or so of the 20-some. Meadow Lane Elementary is getting a new media center on the west end of the facility and 2 new kindergarten classrooms. If you have ever been in Meadow Lane, the old media center was in a couple of small classrooms internal. It deserved a media center, library media center that could give it the volume and space it needed. Another courtyard. Here's the media center there. This is scheduled to be done before the end of the school year. Pershing Elementary, a new 4-classroom addition that we actually moved into in late November, early December. That project is now complete. And so staff are enjoying the additional space. One thing, a philosophical approach that we take from the facility side is that we like additions to match the architecture of the era of the building. And so you'll see that and find that in most of the projects that we do, so that it sends that message that we want it to fit the environment and the facility that we've attached to. Norwood Park, an indoor air quality project that's also getting a new kitchen cafeteria and a new main entrance with an entrance canopy and an IAQ renovation and some code upgrades. So another great project. This is scheduled to be completed by this summer. Kids are in the building at this time during construction, so that separation of safety and security is really critical. This is a mechanical spine that's actually on the roof of the old facility, and we've created a new sloped roof that's more residential looking. Northeast High School, tonight you approved the new fitness physical education classroom. Kind of goes on the northwest corner of the building. That's just a floor plan of it. North is actually to the left in that drawing. This is an exterior rendering of that addition and an interior rendering. Lefler Middle School, another addition and renovation project that'll be coming forward. Multiple locations there, a new gymnasium, science room upgrades. And if you've ever been in Lefler, ADA is a constant concern with multiple levels. And so about $500,000 of this project is actually dedicated just to ADA improvements so that we can make that building entirely accessible. So definitely a need, and hopefully we'll get those things all accomplished in this project. New main entrance at Lefler, secure entrance. Park Middle School is a new gymnasium classroom addition on the southwest corner, off to the left. North is to the top in the site plan. You can see the gymnasium. This actually also meets program deficiency requirements. And so at Lefler, that got a new gym. Now our middle schools all have 3 gymnasium spaces, which meets kind of our standard. So a new gymnasium, 2 classrooms. You see an enlarged floor plan and a rendering that's looking to the northwest. Randolph Elementary School, getting a new gymnasium, which is to the right or the east end of the building. It's also getting some upgrades to a new secure entrance on the southeast part of the building, modifications to the kitchen cafeteria, and an improved media center, library media center, based on the relocation of the new gymnasium. These projects will be coming forward to you as they bid in the next few weeks. West Lincoln Elementary over in Northwest Lincoln is getting an 8-classroom addition on the southwest corner. And this project also bids in the next few weeks, and multiple renovations throughout, including technology upgrades. There's kind of a bird's eye perspective looking to the northwest, a new main entrance, canopy, and secure entrance. And Humann, one that you talked about earlier, is a new IAQ. We're going to relocate those students to the Bison facility for 1 year, and I think that's a great move. It does save a lot of money. I think one thing I mentioned in the past, that previous rental rates were in excess of $500,000 a year for off-site rental for temporary sites. We're going to save that money by investing it, hopefully, back into Humann. Many of the areas that are being touched by Humann: new entrance, main entrance canopy. We're moving the office to create a new secure entrance. And before I get into recycling, Mr. Mayhew mentioned growth earlier, and you had a large discussion about growth. I shared a number with the planning committee a few weeks ago, and the number was 4,101. And that's how many students we've grown by from Fourth Friday 5 years ago till Fourth Friday this past year. And we all know what Fourth Friday is. That's the date that we kind of get our official attendance or our enrollment numbers, Fourth Friday of September. So I went back and looked at those numbers, and we broke them down further. And the 3 years prior to the bond issue, that number was just under 2,000 of the 4,101, which means the last 2 years were in excess of 2,000. They were like 2,100. And so we planned hard, and we spent a lot of time trying to make sure we could accommodate growth, because that is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have, along with many other things that you have to deal with on the facilities and instructional side. But growth is going to be one of our major challenges in the next few years as we continue to update the 10-year facilities plan. And so if we've grown by 2,100 in the last 2 years, and we look at the future, and the presentation that we had from planning just a few weeks ago, Lincoln Lancaster County Planning, David Carey, the interim director, Lincoln is going to continue to grow. And so the next 5 years, that 4,000 number is very likely. And as Ms. Stanek mentioned about elementary school waves into the middle school and now the high schools, we're going to have those challenges ahead, and staying in front of that as best we can is going to be a critical discussion, whether it's attendance boundaries, as Dr. Standish mentioned in the high school discussion about North Star, or new facilities or additions at buildings where the growth is happening, as Ms. Beyer mentioned about the concentric growth around the city. We have a lot of pressure points, and we're going to need to stay on top of that. And again, I thank you for your diligence in staying on top of that and promoting that, and I thank our community for that. But the last thing that I'm going to mention is recycling, and that's where Brittany kind of comes in. We have really ramped up our construction diversion program in terms of recycled or waste, construction waste. We've diverted 1,200 tons just in the last year of construction waste that would not or would have gone to the landfill. It's been diverted for recycling. That saved us about $30-some thousand in fees, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but 1,200 tons of debris no longer is in the landfill because of the process that we've initiated, and we saved $31,000 or $32,000. We've also gained another $30-some thousand in revenue based on the sale of some of that recycled material. So when you separate it, some of it has value to it. Some of it does not, because they just want the product and they recycle, but some of it actually has value. So there's a net about $70,000 of savings to the district, and we diverted 1,200 tons of debris from the Lincoln landfill. So you might go to a construction site and it doesn't look too pretty, but it's all labeled, and we separate cardboard and concrete and steel and those types of things. So that concludes the presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Lanny?
Let me start off with a thank you, Scott. This is a large number of projects. I think back to the bond campaign and the promises that we made, that we'd add capacity for growth, that we'd create secured entrances at all the schools, that we'd add the infrastructure that we needed to support the technology plan, and that we'd open the Career Academy. And I just think of all the work that you and your teams have done to help fulfill those promises. And so thank you very much. My one question would be, you mentioned the 4,000 students that we added in the last 5 years. How much capacity have we added through the projects from the bonds?
When the bond issue was promoted, I think we were promoting about 3,000 seats is what we would say, including a new middle school at 850, a new elementary at 525, additions like at Norwood Park or Meadow Lane that would accommodate an additional 100. So that combined total was around 3,000 seats.
Okay, so we've pretty much already grown into
Pretty
what
much.
we've built.
That's correct.
Thanks.
You bet.
Scott, when you talked about middle schools, you just missed, we have one that only has 2 gyms, and that would be Dawes. So would you put that on your radar, please?
It is on the radar.
There you go.
Thanks for the reminder, though.
No, I would hear it if I didn't say it, so. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And moving on, we have announcements of upcoming events for the board. Tomorrow, February 10th, it's Prosper Lincoln Summit. It's at the Pinnacle Bank Arena at 7:30. Thank you to all my colleagues who will be attending. I will be on a plane heading to Dallas, so thanks for going for me. We also have Face the Chamber with Mayor Beitler at the Country Club at noon on the 17th, which is a week from tomorrow. Career Academy Joint Board Meeting is at 8:15, and GNSA is at 9:30 at the Administrators Building on February 23rd. We come back here again for a meeting at 6 p.m. We now have a time on our agenda. If there's any additional public comment, seeing none, we do have a request for closed session. Lanny.
I move that the board recess and go into closed session for reasons number 1, negotiations, reason number 3, litigation, and number 7, legal advice.
Don.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we recess and move into closed session for item number 1, negotiation, number 3, litigation, and number 7, legal advice. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Ms. Dyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Ms. Mumgarde?
Yes.
Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Mrs. Danick?
Yes. And we are recessed to go into closed session, and thank you all for attending.